Jimmy Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm Derek Lemaster.
And this is Scream Bloody Movies. Welcome, guys.
Hey, guys.
Hey, guys, how you doing? Welcome to Scream Bloody Movies, the podcast where we talk about horror films and discuss what we liked and didn't like about classic or modern horror films. Today on the agenda, we have John Carpenter's 1980 The Fog, which we'll get to, of course, here shortly. But first, I want to see how you guys are doing. Lydia, how's things?
Things are doing better. I got my wisdom teeth pulled last Wednesday, and they still hurt a week later. So I'm fighting through it. Took some Tylenol, so I think I'll be okay today to talk. But yeah, I got all four pulled at the same time, and I don't recommend it.
No, I've not had mine taken out yet, thankfully. But I know people that have, like you, of course, and I don't know if I could deal with the swelling of the cheeks.
Mm-hmm. That was what I was like most afraid of too. Like I was really afraid my face would swell up. It didn't swell up too bad, but it's the not eating part that is really affecting my life.
You're not eating?
Well, I'm eating now, but like it was like days that I was eating like only pudding and Jell-O.
I could probably swing that if it was good pudding and good Jell-O.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, and I'm like pretty sick of pudding now.
See, that's when you get a blender, like an industrial one. That way it can like chew up a cow.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, nothing like those meat smoothies.
You could call it a cowboy.
Oh my God. Derek, so what's new with you? How's things going?
Things are going well. Everybody in my household's mildly healthy, so that's a plus. And my wife and I get to find out what we're having next week. We're having
like
another baby.
Pizza?
No, we're having another baby. We have a
Congratulations.
3-year-old boy, so we're hoping for a little girl. I'm gonna have to buy a shotgun so I can be cleaning it when she comes home, I guess. No. That's later in life, but I'm going to get a shotgun, just so I can intimidate people.
Well, I think it's a good idea to carry one or have one in the household just in case somebody reads from the Necronomicon. It's important.
There's always that possibility, and you got to be prepared.
You've got to be prepared. Also, keep a chainsaw and plenty of booze. You'll be good to go when the evil dead attack.
And really, what could go wrong with that combination?
Nothing. Nothing. Listen, they do it in the South all the time. I'm sure it's fine.
There you go. It's a staple.
So we have actually some news too that we just cast the latest short we're in the middle of production on. So it's fully cast. It's ready to go before cameras next month. So that's exciting. And stay tuned for this space and the website and all the other areas for more news and info, and maybe even some guests from the shoot when it comes close for that time. But since we're in the here and now, let's talk about horror news. We are filming this episode on June 16th, by the way, 2021. So these are the horror news items of the day. I'm going to start with the biggest one that I read today, which actually came out yesterday, but Scream 5 is finished shooting. It's completely finished with production. It's finished shooting, finished editing, finished sound. It's in the can. So, which, by the way, is just officially titled Scream. That's the new thing now. As much as I liked Blumhouse's Halloween, it's annoying to have to say Halloween 2018 instead of just Halloween Dies or whatever they could have named it. So
or Halloween Lives.
Yeah. Halloween Returns was a working title, which would have been a good one. I like that a lot. So what are your guys' thoughts on the new Scream? I know we talked about it on the first episode. We kind of discussed the concept of there being a new Scream. Are you still excited about it?
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yep, I say bring it on. I'm excited to, from what you had mentioned on the last podcast, the actors are pretty excited about it. They said there's kind of new life there, so I'm on board. I'll buy a ticket.
And from what I read, they are, of course, they're honoring Wes Craven as much as possible. It's just going to be interesting to see a Scream movie not directed by Mr. Craven, who is, of course, a big part of our childhood and of our horror fandom. So that'll be interesting to see. But I'm looking forward to it. Also, we talked about Netflix's Fear Street a little bit. The adult R.L. Stine series. Well, it has officially been rated R for strong, bloody violence.
Nice.
So that's of course exciting. It's going to be interesting to see a gory a gory R.L. Stine story. So they have the two parts. It's in 3 parts. So they have the first part's called Fear Street Part 1, 1994. The second one's Fear Street Part 2, 1978. And the third one is Fear Street Part 3, 1666.
Oh.
Yeah.
What direction are they going to work in? Hopefully they start with the earliest and move forward.
No. So it goes. So they're telling the story apparently. So here's a synopsis. Part 1 is a circle of teenage friends accidentally encounter the ancient evil responsible for a series of brutal murders that have plagued their town for over 300 years. In episode 2, it's 1978, school's out for the summer, and the activities at Camp Nightwing are about to begin. But when another shady sider is possessed with the urge to kill, the fun in the sun becomes a gruesome fight for survival.
Mm.
And then part 3 is the origin of Sarah Fear's curse are finally revealed as history comes full circle on a night that changes the lives of shady siders forever. So, I mean, that sounds pretty cool. I don't quite know what to expect. If it's a fraction as good as the Haunting of Hill House or the Haunting of Bly Manor, then we'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those are the streaming horror staples. I feel like that's the peak that you strive to reach. Because I was blown away by both of those. What do you guys think?
I hope they bring back Jack Black.
That's Goosebumps.
You guys watch the Goosebumps with Jack Black?
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
I like it.
It is fun. Yeah, I liked
it too.
One
Yeah.
as well, but they are very fun.
So
What's
that's
the little doll's name? Is it?
It is.
Lappy.
Yeah, that's it.
Trivia in there.
There you go.
So do you remember last week, or last podcast, when we talked about the Toxic Avenger remake?
Yes.
And we spoke about Elijah Wood joining Peter Dinklage. Well, we jumped the gun on that because in the week that we were off due to your teeth, in the week when we were off, Elijah Wood was unannounced. Kevin Bacon was announced in his place to play the villain. And then this week it was announced that Elijah Wood is also joining it. So now the cast is Elijah Wood, Julia Davis, Kevin Bacon, Peter Dinklage. So that's a thing.
They should bring in Michael Cera to play Toxie.
I would assume that Peter Dinklage is going to play human form Toxie, right? And then maybe voice Toxie? You think Toxie's going to be CG?
Well, I mean, I hope that they don't go that route. But anything's got to look a little bit better from the '80s version. But I hope they keep it more practical effects. Let's suit them up.
It's Trauma. I'm sure they will, but I don't know. Like, what the heck do you guys think of this like cast list? It's kind of getting crazy all of a sudden.
I want to know what their budget is.
Bigger than the original, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think the first one was made for $12, and I think they just stole shots on the streets of New York. Speaking of Scream, this is just a little side note. This is interesting. It's apparently going to get a 25th anniversary 4K Ultra HD release. So, which means it'll probably also play theaters when that cycle comes out, which would be, I never got to see the first one in theaters, so that would be awesome.
Nice.
I remember when we went, when that movie came out in 96, and I went to go see The Cable Guy.
Oh my God.
And my mom went and saw Scream, and I remember like trying to sneak in and see it, but I also wanted to watch The Cable Guy, of course.
Which one is scarier?
Ooh, that's a good question. Cable Guy is actually pretty creepy.
It is.
Pretty creepy. Especially that scene where Matthew Broderick's dreaming, and he's like, "I'll see you later." He's got like the glowing eyes and shit.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you the time that I befriended the Taco Bell guy?
What?
Yeah, I befriended a Taco Bell guy when I was in college. And not kidding, every time I would go in there, he would give me free food. He invited me to his wedding. No joke. I walked in there one night because I'd always like get a free drink, or if somebody like messed up an order, they'd be like, "Hey, you want this?"
You were a garbage disposal.
Kinda, yeah. But I walked in there and ordered food. He'd be like, "Hey, man, I'm getting married this weekend. You're totally invited if you want to go." I'm like, "Hey, that's really nice." I remember the guy's name, but I had never seen him outside of that.
You don't have to say his last name. Okay.
I didn't know his last name. I don't even think I think he gave me his phone number. Then I never went in there again because I was like, I crossed the boundary.
I was cool to talk to you when you were just giving me free food.
Yeah.
But when you're actually inviting me to your wedding,
yeah,
it's too real for me.
So I went to a different Taco Bell movie.
He just shows up at your house or something. Like,
"Hey, man, why didn't you come to my wedding?" Be like, "Hey, buddy, I don't know."
I sense a horror movie here. Yeah, in the vein of The Cable Guy, it's the Taco Bell guy.
yeah.
There you
Jesse.
go. We could call it, like, I don't know, burrito something.
Oh.
That's why I have you in charge of all the titles, because that was just
Spectacular, I mean, it's an original. Well, you put me on the spot. You didn't put me on the spot. I put myself on the spot. I couldn't think of it. But I know that burrito would have to be part of it.
I think the title should just be burrito something.
Yeah.
We could call it Burrito Baby.
Nice.
I don't even know if that sounds.
I already want to watch that.
I don't think we should call it Burrito Baby. I don't know what that even is.
So that's actually like a little ritual that we have with my my son. When he gets out of the bathtub, I wrap him in a towel and I pick him up and I'm like, "Burrito, baby."
That's adorable.
By the way, I've called.
Don't name a horror movie after that.
By the way, I called CPS on you.
Whatever, it's adorable. Braden was here when I did that, and was like, "What are you doing?" But I was like, "Burrito, baby."
As long as there really is a baby there, and it's not like
there
it's
is. I swear. Yeah.
He just does it to the air.
Yeah.
It's a wrapped towel.
Well, guys, look forward to that coming summer of 2025, Burrito Baby, starring Jesse, the Taco Bell guy.
Yeah. Jesse, if you watch this, I really appreciate all the food you gave me.
He probably still works there, and now he's fired because
I told on him. You just give food away.
That's where the hell all that free food went.
Yeah, he's still there. He's still at Taco Bell.
Maybe he's friends with Lois.
So, enough of this. There's a reason we're here today. I like how serious everyone got. Derek drinking from the smallest cup I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, that's so cute. Wait,
We
is
had,
that coffee?
No, it's grape. It's sparkling grape juice. I bought it so that we get. My wife's pregnant, obviously, and my kid can't drink alcohol. So I was like, "I'm gonna buy some sparkling grape juice," and then he didn't drink his, but it's good. So
Nice.
So, like, were you celebrating something?
no.
Oh, you just wanted to remember what it was like back in the alcoholic days? Man, I really can't drink, but I really want to.
Yeah, in my mind, I was like, "This is wine. This is really wine."
Good. So, guys, we watched The Fog this week, and unlike or very similar to Pet Sematary, this is a movie we have all seen prior to this. This wasn't any of our first viewing of this movie.
Mm.
But I think Lydia is the one that has seen it the least amount of times.
Probably true.
Yeah.
I've seen it twice.
Yes. This was your second time watching it, right?
Yeah.
And the first time was not too long ago.
Right.
Right. I grew up watching this movie. This was one of those movies that was on cable all the time. And then it circulated onto VHS and DVD, all through my life. This is one of those movies that I cycle through a lot. How about you, Derek?
Yeah. Typically, I probably watch it at least once every couple of years. So, like I'd mentioned before we started recording, that this was one of the first digital movies that I had purchased. I didn't have a physical copy. So it was around Halloween time a couple of years ago. I'm like, I love this movie. I'm going to go ahead and buy it. So that's what I did.
So, Lydia, since you are the one that has seen this movie the least, and you are kind of basically going into it semi-fresh since you've only seen it twice,
Mm-hmm.
what are your thoughts on The Fog, just in general? Like, not your whole rating necessarily. We'll get to that. But why don't you talk a little bit about it?
Well, I really like it, and I'm kind of like surprised that I had never seen it, just because of how good it actually is. And I'm like, I felt John Carpenter, and I had like Halloween vibes, and I loved the whole feel of the movie, and I was like, wish I would have seen it and actually watched it a lot younger.
Yeah, that's a good point you bring up. When I think of The Fog, the one thing I think of is atmosphere. Because I think this movie has tremendous atmosphere. It also has a really bitchin' soundtrack, but that's a John Carpenter staple as well. But I really love the opening theme song of this movie. That opening little piano riff is so creepy. Here it is. And it is, I love it. It sets the atmosphere. We'll just start towards the beginning, that opening scene. The opening scene of this movie, I think, does a great job of setting up the mood. It's one of my all-time favorite opening scenes. The old man telling the ghost story.
By the campfire.
Yeah.
In my notes, I wrote classic. Because I wrote
A+.
Yeah, it's his line delivery of it, in the way he reads it, the way it's shot, and the pacing of it is so good. I love the kid actors, and I love how they're kind of all sitting around entranced by this story.
Mm-hmm.
And you have this kind of old fisherman type guy relaying this story to these kids, the 21st of December, and just going through all of it. 21st of April, blah
Yeah.
blah blah, going into it, and it opens with that, the watch that clips shut. It's yeah, I absolutely love that opening scene. There's a very interesting thing in there where it does this like really weird push in. You guys notice this?
Mm-mm.
I think the only reason I notice it is because I've seen this movie so many times. But it's kind of like a medium shot of the old man, and then it like pushes in real fast, like it's almost like a digital zoom.
Hmm.
It's obviously not digital because it's 1980, shot in '79, but it's like a optical zoom, post-production zoom. What did you think of the opening?
Okay.
Like your
Gotcha.
story about it.
Yeah. No, man, it really took me back. It was very nostalgic. And I think, going through this movie, not to get ahead of myself, but going through this movie, you really have to think of the time period of when this movie was made. Because there were a lot of things that were, at the time, would have been, how can I say that? New to the viewer, right? Like, I've not seen anyone do quite this thing before, right? And a lot of the things now are probably stem from movies like this, right? They were inspired. So you really have to kind of set yourself in that mood because it was a 1980s movie. But yeah, the opening was fantastic. I loved that campfire scene. It was really brought me back.
So the actor that plays the campfire dude is John Houseman.
Old Housey.
Good old Housey. Housey himself. Mr. Mansion is his name. Mr. Mansion. Good.
I loved his accent. It had a little bit of a reminiscing of Alfred Hitchcock. I felt maybe a little bit.
Yeah. He definitely has a Hitchcock voice. You're right. Yeah. How that kind of drawl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
brought a different kind of element to the story as well.
Yeah. So what's interesting is that opening scene is so strong, but then it leads into a protracted, longer opening, which also really sets the stage for the movie. Yeah. I love these shots of the town at night, empty, and you see the gas thing fall down and start pumping itself, and you start to see these little ghostly, supernatural occurrences. You see I love seeing the inside of the 1980s store, by the way. And you see all of the old products.
That guy, man, who took the orange juice off the shelf and then took a drink. All I can think of is, man, COVID. That guy is breaking so many COVID violations. Anyway, but yeah, that was really quite disturbing. Even for that time, I wouldn't have wanted to drink a thing that guy had put back. But
I mean, you guys remember they didn't used to put the things on them. It used to just be
the pop.
Yeah, like the safety thing. Like how in orange juice you have to pull the thing out after you unscrew the lid. Then it just was like, open it up and drink it.
Yep. I only took a sip. I'll put this back.
So yeah, we get this cool little intro kind of building the story, and then the whole time we're also getting narration by my other favorite character, one of my favorite characters, Stevie Wayne, from her Lighthouse radio station. Can we just take a moment to talk about how cool it would be to own a Lighthouse radio station?
So cool.
Yeah. I would want to live there, but working there would be the second choice. It would be really, really cool. For sure.
So Stevie's our first real character that we're introduced to. So what are you guys' thoughts on Stevie?
She's gorgeous.
Yes, she is. She's definitely gorgeous. Adrienne Barbeau.
She definitely nailed that late night radio talk show host that you see. That's just kind of that classic image. Like the voice that she had, she nailed it. It sounded like that sexy voice on the radio that you want to listen to. And
Yeah, her voice is awesome. She does a great job in this movie. And she's such a cool, like, spunky character. You know, she's a single mom.
Mhm.
She's raising her son, and she, like, is getting hit on by fucking
Dan.
Sheriff Brackett from Halloween.
Right.
He is Sheriff Brackett. His name's Dan. I actually wrote a note about Dan. I said I feel bad for him, especially when he like, comes in on his day off just so he can listen to her. It's like,
Yeah.
it's a little creepy, but hey.
They
Sometimes
have
when
a
you got a crush,
unique
man.
relationship.
Unique relationship. That's the best way to put it, Lydia. So yeah, I mean, she's like this kind of cool, firecrackery, single mom, doesn't take shit from people, and runs her own. I mean, she runs the radio station. She's doing all of it. She's going in and flipping the tapes, and she's just on it.
Speaking of the tapes,
Yes.
did you guys think that the songs were like super short?
Yes.
What was? I mean, maybe because I wasn't alive when this came out, but like, what's that about?
What, the short songs? Well, some of them. I mean, I guess there were songs that were about 2.5 minutes.
She was like, okay, I just put this song on. Okay, 15 seconds. That's all you get. It's like, wait, how long is this song?
I think they kind of speed it up for the pacing of the movie, so that way we know what to sit. Because a mistake would have been for us to literally have to sit through an entire song while she's like,
It's true.
I love it. I want to do that. I want to open a radio station like that. And
yeah,
just play like songs that don't have words, like lo-fi,
jazz,
chill music.
Yeah.
I would say this. I mean, this is more of like a, going into the reality of everything. If you were the single person to run a radio station, I don't know that the night shift would be the most productive time to do that.
I think the reason she does the night shift is because that's when she keeps all of the she has to do the lighthouse stuff.
Yeah,
because it's a working lighthouse, so she has to actually man the lighthouse and give the ships the weather coming in, and the weather reports. So I think that's part of why she does a night shift, and it's the best time so that way she can see her son during the day, and then when he's asleep, she has the babysitter come and watch him. So I think that's kind of why that plays out like that.
Yeah, I'd be hiring Dan to help.
He seems like he's like would sexually harass your ass. Is what it seems like.
There's definitely I think he walks the fine line. I don't think he was overly aggressive.
I think that too. I think if this was a Today movie, that guy would definitely be like aggressive about hitting on her. But I think he was just like kind of hopeful. Like someday maybe she'll come around and like me. Yeah,
I mean he's kind of sweet. And I mean we also do hear all the other. I mean the sailors are the ones that are like.
Oh yeah, they're definitely.
Oh, if you would like to meet her, you're like, stay on your ship, you creep.
Yeah.
So then we're introduced to, Nick Castle, played by the great Tom Atkins, whom I love. And then he, of course, picks up the hitchhiker, played by Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yep.
So what do you guys think of Elizabeth and Nick's meeting scene?
It's pretty intense.
Yes. So I love their little banter. I love their dialogue, and it's fun. And she's like such a opposite character than Laurie Strode. I mean, you have to remember this came out 2 years after Halloween. This was the very next movie. So it's like she went completely the opposite way, purposely to try to just kind of sexy hitchhiker that puts out completely on after meeting the dude for 10 minutes.
Hey, that, I mean, to her credit, I did feel like they had some good on-screen chemistry. I thought that they had a natural flow of dialogue, and she also stared at him for a good solid 7 or 8 seconds when she got in the car, hey.
And
he looks
after you watch Halloween 3, it's just what girls do around him,
Exactly. That's a perfect point. I don't think I could be in a room with Tom Atkins without wanting to make out with him.
Well, some guys got it. Some guys don't. I guess.
Every woman that's in a room with, especially in Halloween 3, definitely wants to nail him.
After watching these movies, I'm like, maybe he is handsome.
Movie, you're convincing me.
Yeah. It's subliminal, I think. Maybe he is handsome. I'm just wrong.
Am I attracted to him now? I think so. I think I
am. It is glorious that he's just randomly sipping on a beer as as he's driving down the highway at night.
Hey man, again, you got to go with the
It was the 80s. It was late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah. So I mean, I got in a car with my cousin not too long ago, and he was doing it. It's the late,
Well, that's terrible, Derek. You should not have gotten into that car.
I didn't know that was going to happen until I got in the car and he like cracked open a beer, and I'm like, I mean, dude, this was at like 9 o'clock.
Were you driving or was he?
He was driving.
Oh my God. Can open, worms everywhere.
Exactly.
So if you're listening, police, his cousin's name is. So we have this great scene of them driving, and then their windows just shatter out of nowhere, and they seem to be pretty okay with this whole situation. I mean, they're kind of like, "What was that?" But then they're like, "Let's not let it get in the way of banging."
We got to get back to my house.
The chemistry was explosive in that.
Oh, it was. It was. Blew the windows out of that place.
Yeah. Actually, that was a note that I had. Driving without a windshield must be a blast, is what I said. But yeah, good.
No, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, they seem to have a good time at least. The other characters we're introduced to is we're introduced to the father character played by Hal Holbrook, Father Malone, and his great assistant played by John Carpenter. Tell me you guys didn't dig John Carpenter's excellent little cameo.
That was John, yeah.
Wait, who did he play?
He played the Bennett. He's the dude at the beginning that says, "Father, am I going to get paid?"
I've totally missed it.
Long hair and mustache. He's the dude that comes in and talks to him because he's sweeping the port, or he's sweeping the church, and then he goes in and Father Holbrook's sitting there like making a drink or whatever. He's like, "Could you come in tomorrow at around 8?" "Yeah, sure." "Father, am I going to get paid?" "You might want to make it noon."
I totally missed that. I missed that was him.
Oh, you have to go back and watch it. Yeah, it's John Carpenter's excellent acting debut. He nails it. He said so himself. It's one of the best. So Father Malone, of course, finds this like his wall like fucking falls over, and introduced to this book, which is a diary of the people who started the town. Antonio Bay. And then he starts to read it and figure out the backstory of what's going to be happening. And we're also introduced to Nancy Loomis's character, and Jamie Lee Curtis's mom, Janet Leigh, who plays the like the congressperson or whatever.
Like the town mayor.
Town mayor, yeah. So you introduced to her and her assistant, who's played by Nancy Loomis from Halloween, of course, plays Annie. And then you get this the first kill scene, like the first real horror scene aboard the boat. The fishermen are on the boat, and that's where we kind of figure out. We still don't quite know what's going on, but we're kind of figuring out: are we dealing with ghost pirates? Is that kind of what the deal is here? What do you guys think of the ghost pirate set piece? The first set piece.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you go first.
It was awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to like picture it, but I'm like
There's a great appreciation that you get. I would love to know what their budget was for this movie, but there's a certain appreciation you get when you make a low budget horror movie. Like, could the outfits or the costumes have been a little bit better? Probably, but man, there was something about the way that those pirates looked. I was like, yeah.
No, they looked amazing.
I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The budget of this movie was $1 million.
For the time, where does that kind of rank?
I mean, it's still a lower budget movie. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, the original Halloween was made for, under $1 million. The Evil Dead was made for $275,000.
Yeah, that's on a different level. Yeah,
Evil Dead's like on another level of just pulling a shoestring budget and being like,
yeah,
let's just do crazy shit.
yeah.
With no money, it's going to be amazing. But
So
yeah,
when the people on the ship like see the fog and they're like, oh man, there is fog, like what the heck, and you just see this like wall, just like that's pretty awesome.
yeah.
I still don't know like how they did the fog effects.
I believe a lot of it was, I mean, practical. Like they used a fog machine to do it, but the stuff where it was, dissipating, it was filmed in reverse. So you have a lot of reverse photography,
Right.
So they would pump the fog out and then they would reverse the film so it, went away.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some optical effects as with that sort of stuff. I love the production design on it because one thing I really love about this movie is it's set in spring, like right before spring. So it's in that like fall or that winter turning into spring area. You know what I mean? So there's like this chill about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel the cold. Like, when they go to the boat and Nick's like wearing that jacket, and you can just feel the cold, feel their breath. Because it's like, it's almost warm, but it's not quite. And I love that about the movie. I think it adds a lot of that atmosphere we were talking about.
Definitely.
So I also really like the set piece where when we wake up and we find out that Nick had totally banged Jamie Lee Curtis, naked with Elizabeth. And there's that great knocking on the door. And
the hook.
The hook banging on the door. And there's this slow tension build where Nick's slowly going to it, and then the hour ends.
Mm-hmm.
And the clock shatters. Nick looks at it like, well, that's the second thing. I mean, I'm wondering what he's thinking. Is he thinking, well, that's the second thing that just spontaneously shattered in my presence, This is it. This is weird.
Yeah, there definitely was not an urgency about these spontaneously exploding pieces. Like,
Well,
they're just like, oh, that happened.
Listen, when you're as cool as Nick Castle,
That's true.
shit just explodes around you, man.
I guess it does. You're right. So, but yeah, they casually are just like, gotta get a new clock.
So, one of my favorite scares happens about this point in the movie where the mayor and her lieutenant go to the church to speak to Father Malone. And they walk into the church and it's like, it's lit and everything. There's darkness around them. And Father Malone just pops out of the dark, out of nowhere, like a fucking creeper just had been chilling there, waiting for the moment. Ha-ha! He kind of like floats in the frame. Such a great scare.
Dang, preacher's always doing that.
I know.
And
So-
not to stereotype preachers, but man, he definitely seemed like he had some substance abuse problems.
We just triggered a whole religious sect of our audience, Derek. But yes, Father Malone has a drinking problem, but he also is finding out exactly the story of Antonio Bay,
Mm-hmm.
and the story, the myth of the Elizabeth Dane. which was their ship.
Yeah.
And throughout this, we start to find out that basically the people that started the town, there was these lepers on this ship. And they made a deal, and they had all this gold. And they made a deal with them that they could come and join the town. But what they did instead is they purposely crashed them into the rocks and stole all of their gold and left them to die, which is why they're returning from the grave 100 years on the centennial of this town's finding to get the revenge. And of course, they keep saying 6 must die for the 6 that were killed. So Stevie's son finds this plank of wood in the water. First, he sees a gold piece.
A doubloon.
And yeah, a doubloon. Very nice, Derek. And a water rushes over it, and then it turns into this plank of wood. And it says Dane on it. So he goes and takes it to his mom, and it says that asks if he can have a stomach pounder.
I remember that. He asked for a sandwich and a stomach pounder. Does anyone know what a stomach pounder is?
I do not. Do you know what a stomach pounder is, Lydia?
Okay, so I assumed, is that the sandwich or is that the drink? Like, because he asked for...
All right, I'm going to look this up.
You said he asked for a sandwich.
Yes.
Assuming it was like some kind of a meal. And like, for a mom to just be like, yeah, sure.
Stomach pounder sounds healthy.
Yeah. Some kind of slang for sure.
Yeah.
I think it sounds like a burger, but
I think you're right. Derek, what is it?
He asked for a stomach pounder and a Coke. What exactly is a stomach pounder?
So I would assume it's like a burger.
It has to be a burger. Yeah.
And the response is there really isn't an answer for this.
No.
Basically,
it's just a word, something John Carpenter made up.
Yeah.
John Carpenter thing.
Yeah, I guess.
He's like, what would be great here? A stomach pounder. That sounds like something children would be into.
I mean, sometimes when you eat a Taco Bell.
Well, yeah. That's not a stomach pounder. That's a stomach pulverizer.
Well, there you go. But I would imagine it's got to be some sort of a sandwich.
By the way, this episode is sponsored by Taco Bell.
You're waiting for that check.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for it to clear. It'll be great. So she has this board, and then there's this great scene in the lighthouse with the board. Derek, do you remember the scene I'm talking about?
I do. Yeah. I loved, like, you want me to describe this?
Yeah.
So when the water leaks down and it hits the recorder or the radio, whatever device that is, and it starts, I can't remember the specific dialogue, but it goes into that, like, ominous dialogue, and you're just, like, at the edge of your seat. Oh, man, this is cool.
Something that once lived with like an albatross around the neck, no more like a millstone, a plumbing stone, by God. Damn them all.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the dialogue is about?
Basically, it's about the story of the Elizabeth Dane. And yeah, so it starts like slowing down and getting deeper, and then all of a sudden it starts catching on fire and stuff, and then she goes to it puts out the fire, and then the water leaking's gone, and the board is back to its regular self. And again, she's just like, huh. Well, back to reality.
Yeah. I just had a psychotic break, but I'm going to go pick up my kid now.
Yeah, so meanwhile, one of my other favorite scenes that happens around this time in the movie, which is where Nick and Elizabeth go to find his buddy. So he goes to find his friend who was out on the ship. And they end up locating his ship, and they go and investigate it.
The seagrass.
The seagrass, yes. And I love the dialogue that Nick gives when it's just the two of them in the hall of the boat.
Oh yeah, he's telling the story about his dad.
His dad, yeah.
Finding a doubloon.
Mm-hmm.
He put it in his pocket.
And disappeared.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, such a great little dialogue. And what's really great about it is it's building this tension. And then you're getting faked out. John Carpenter does this great misdirect in this point. You start to see a door creak open. And you're like, oh, shit, there it comes. And then the dead body falls on top of Jamie Lee Curtis from behind her.
Yeah, the locker door like opens and then like stuff spills out of it. And you're like, oh, that wasn't scary. And then you're like, dead body.
Ha, fooled you! Like that, the stuff in that locker wasn't scary at all.
That dead body was pretty scary.
Yeah, it was gnarly looking. I mean, it doesn't have any eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like non-eyed.
The thing that got me about that scene though, when they get on the seagrass and he's like, they're kind of like investigating and looking around. One, they missed that the dead body was in there, but two, that he like took that can of beer and smelled it and took a drink.
Yeah. Well, you can't just leave a beer sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like salt
water.
water. And you're like, why did you drink that? Yeah, that's a good point.
Don't drink that.
Yeah, I mean, that was the 80s. That could have been like cigarette butts in there, and then you got to go to the doctor because that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Oh, he just would have been okay with it.
No,
He
they
eats
would
cigarettes for breakfast.
get your stomach pumped for that one, man.
Hey,
That's a no-go.
that's what a stomach pounder is, by the way.
Apparently.
It's saltwater beer. Cigarette butts in.
That's what that kid wanted.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That was appetizing. I can see why he would definitely want that.
That's like my worst nightmare.
Even the worst is that her saying, yeah, sure, Tommy,
Yeah,
go.
sure. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go have this beer.
Stomach pounder. So yeah, what's the next scene you guys want to talk about?
Actually, following that one, I don't know if you came across as legit. The guy doing the autopsy. By the way, their dialogue on the ride back, he was like, "Man, he had salt water in his stomach." How do you know that? Like, this is before they get to the coroner.
He
And they're,
probably
like, having
tasted
this-
it.
He's like,
Licking his stomach.
Yep, definitely salt water.
Salt water.
Yeah, that kind of got me. I'm like, man, how do you know that? You didn't do an autopsy. And then, but I liked the scene with the coroner and the little story that he told about the boys that they found last summer.
Yes.
And they had been down there for a couple of days, and he's like, man, I would swear that this guy was down there for longer. It was a good little story. I liked that element of it.
And then of course, during this whole time, we have the dead body getting up and doing what dead bodies shouldn't do, which is walk around. What did you guys think of that scare?
It was a good one. I liked it.
I remember as a kid that being pretty
bet.
scary. When I was a kid, that was a pretty good one. I was like,
Yeah, especially grabs the scalpel.
Yeah, and then when he falls over and he etches into the ground, 3, I'm like, no.
Is that relevant to the knocking? The 3 knocks?
Well, it's relevant because 3 more, I think, has to die.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's
or
3
down.
Yeah. I think that would be right. The math would be, I think, right on that. Because then we're getting into the the final act, which, by the way, one of the things I really like about this movie, which is interesting and unique, is that not all of the main characters meet each other, like not physically. So, like, Elizabeth and Nick go and save her son, Stevie's son, and they talk to Stevie on the phone, but they never meet Stevie. Like,
That's
there's
true.
there's never show they meet. So that's interesting. I think that's pretty cool. So then we get into, the big stuff, the the big final act that the fog's coming, and Father Malone's kind of figured out what's going on. He kind of knows the score, and then we also have her son. What's her boy's name? What's her son's name? Do you guys remember?
I want to say Andy.
I think it is. Yes,
I think
Andy.
it is Andy.
You're right, Andy Wayne. So Andy, by the way, Charles Cypher's character, Dan. I just now realized when I saw his name, his name's Dan O'Bannon. He's named after the screenwriter of Alien, Dan O'Bannon, who also directed Return of the Living Dead.
Nice. Yeah,
it's great. Which we'll do one time because that movie is great.
That movie is great.
He's left with a babysitter. Stevie's in the night shift, and then we start to get to the final bit of the movie here.
Countdown.
Yeah, the final countdown. Lydia, so we'll start with the babysitter and Andy stuff. We'll start with that stuff. What did you think of that stuff?
First of all, I wish I could remember the babysitter's name.
She was an old lady.
Really, really sweet old lady. Like realistic babysitter material. I feel like she's probably got the role because she probably babysat so many kids.
She was John Carpenter's babysitter.
Yeah, probably. Like, she's so sweet. And I feel so bad because she is like, they're so awkward about this fog that is just coming at them. And she kind of is like, this isn't right. Like, something weird is going on. Which I feel
Mrs.
people
Mrs. Corbett. Mrs. Corbett's is her name.
Yeah. Mm. And she's just kind of like, I don't know, like, she knows something's wrong, which is weird because I feel like if I saw some fog coming off the ocean, I'd be like, oh, it's just some fog.
Kind of what happens.
Yeah. And she's like, go to your room, like, lock all the windows. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's very suspenseful. It is very suspenseful. And it's poor little Andy stuck in like this dire situation. His babysitter's done. He's kind of like trapped at the mercy of this whole situation. And then, good.
Well, just think of Stevie's character, his mom. She's really trying to direct the people to go and is it the sun?
Yeah.
The glare. Oh yeah.
It's like she's literally right here.
Positively glowing, Lydia.
Yeah. There's an angel. Anyway,
I'll be right back.
I'll wait.
See if I can fix it. I don't know where to
Do you have any duct tape?
Just don't know where it's hitting. It's just everywhere. You guys can keep going.
Oh, okay.
We'll wait for you.
I'll wait for you.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Just put the blanket over it.
Well.
Oh, hey, that whatever you did there worked.
Oh, that worked?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep. See?
Yeah.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
So Derek.
Yeah, so I really felt for Stevie. I mean, just imagine you're sitting at the lighthouse, which you got the perfect view of the town, and you're trying to get your son help, right? And so you've got the radio, and she's really directing them like where to go to save her son, and then she apologizes to her son for not being there. Like that gripped me. I was like, oh man, that had to be really tough because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and at the same time that this is going on, poor Dan meets his grizzly and
yeah, poor stupid Dan.
That's what you get, man. Came in on your day off. You're not supposed to be here.
Yeah, I don't know
Huge
why.
throwback.
I really like him. I really liked him, his character, but it was just like overly stupid of him. But at the same time, it's not like, you know, you get killed by ghosts every day or something, you know?
Right. And that's kind of like the whole out for these characters, is that it's like such an unbelievable situation. Like, you know, why would you think that that's the fog? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, if she's yelling at you, don't answer the door, and you're seeing some strange things happening, probably don't answer the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I had one critique about this movie, is that all the signs are there. Things are blowing up for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, windows are breaking. And they're just like, you know, it's fine. I'll just go about my day. But
Mhm.
you get all the warning signs, and you're just like, I don't know. what
It's
you're talking
blissful
about.
ignorance. You just kind of write it off. You know, that happens in real
It
life all
is.
the time. It you know, you'll see you know, something break in your room, or you'll see a shadow that you can't explain. So you just
And
like,
you just go and investigate it.
or you say, nah, it's fine. There's nothing. Don't worry
I
about
don't want
it.
to be scared of the dark.
Like you know, I'll be sitting there and I'll hear somebody whispering in my ear to kill my entire family, and it's fine.
Does Sarah know about this?
I'm calling Sarah right now.
I feel like
Actually, she's the one that's whispering it to me.
Oh,
Ridiculous.
oh boy.
Listen. I like to
Listen.
imagine that that Stevie, like, just for a second, I like to just picture if it was like a foggy night and she was just like terrified and screaming over the radio, and it was just like a regular fog. Like nothing was going on.
After this, that's probably what's going to happen.
She's like apologizing to her son, like, I'm so sorry, I hope you understand. And he's just like sitting at home, like looking at the radio. Like, what is happening?
That's definitely what happens. Her next shift, that it's just really foggy.
Yeah.
No!
PTSD.
So eventually the fog comes for Stevie, and she climbs up onto the top of her lighthouse, and she's trying to beat the fog. In the meantime, our heroes all gather at the church. So we have, you know, Janet Leigh's character and Nancy Keys' character, and then we have, you know, Nick and Elizabeth, and they have Andy in tow, and they meet with Father Malone, and he tells them basically the story of Elizabeth Dane, how they were bamboozled and murdered, essentially. The town was built on lies and murder. And the gold that they got from the ship was used to build the gold cross in the church.
Mm-hmm.
So once the revenants, basically, is the best thing I could call them, because they're not zombies, they're not ghosts, they're revenants, essentially. They once they appear into the church, Father Malone sacrifices himself at that moment, tries to sacrifice himself, and puts the cross there, tries to give it back to them, and gives himself as the final victim. And once John Blake is the leader of the pirates, once Blake touches the cross, it starts to glow, which is a really great effect, by the way.
Really cool scene.
Yeah, I love the glowing effect of it, like the way it shines, and especially with the fog, of course, and the lighting. And he just vanishes. Nick pulls the Father Malone away. It explodes. You know, they're gone. They're vanished. And all is right with the world. Stevie's revenants are no longer chasing her up the lighthouse.
Rooftop.
And
She got stabbed too. She got hooked.
yes, she got hooked. She did. We know a thing or two about hooking folks.
We do.
Yeah.
I will say, man, if I were the preacher and I found a giant cross made of gold, I'd have been sacrificing people left and right. I'd been like, go out there. I'll stay here. And hopefully you could last long enough to the fog goes away, and then you're like, I'm out of here, guys.
So Father Malone. So after all of the everything's cleared up and everybody leaves, and it's just Father Malone alone. That was hard to say.
I was going to say that 10 times.
When it's just him by himself, he's, you know, he doesn't understand why he was spared. He can't understand
Because
it.
he was
Why?
one of the 6, right?
Yes, because his grandfather was one of the 6. Can't understand. And then, of course, the fog creeps back in, and John Blank takes off his head, and we cut to black. And then John Carpenter's great score starts playing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was John Carpenter's The Fog.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Lydia, this is your second time viewing it.
Yep.
Are you going to watch it many more times?
Definitely. Classic for me.
What would your rating be on this one?
Oh, that's a good question. I actually didn't prepare a rating. I would probably say I'm gonna give it a 7 pumpkins out of 10.
Derek?
I'm going to give it a 7.25.
Just wanted to one-up me, didn't you?
No. And I'll tell you, if I had one critique about this movie, is that I felt like some of the scenes where the characters are interacting, the dialogue felt a little rushed, right? Like they would say something and then there's no beat as far as a reaction. They just go into their dialogue. I felt like there were a couple of times in this movie where that, just kind of was there. But yeah, I'd say 7.25.
I'm giving it a solid 8 out of 10 pumpkins.
I
This
respect
is one of my favorite John Carpenter movies. It's not on the tier where Halloween and such would be, but it's very, very close. It's a very solid John Carpenter movie, and I just like the way it makes me feel. Makes me feel good watching it. It gives you the right amount of spookies. It's a great one to watch around Halloween time to get like that little shiver up your spine.
Mm-hmm. I think when Clark is 5, I'll be able to watch this with him.
Yeah, you think
maybe 6? Yeah, only because relative to what he'll probably experience with just what's on television, the scares aren't going to be so dramatic that I think he has nightmares. But and I can't wait to share these things with him. So
I think the church scene where the ghosts come in and they have the glowing eyes is such a cool and memorable scene. And I wish I would have watched it when I was that young. Even though I probably would have been really scared when I was that young, but it would have stuck with me forever. I wish I could see it I wish I could be young again so I could watch it.
Yeah, that's definitely, you're right. That's one of those images that always stuck with me. The images that stuck with me the most from when I was a kid was the glowing eyes in the church and the opening kill scene when you first see him after they get hooked on the hull of the boat. That always stuck with me too because I just remember being terrified, I don't know about this. But yeah, wonderful movie. Do you guys have any other notes about it? Anything we didn't cover?
I guess my thoughts on kind of some of the questions that I do have about it is so it's kind of weird that to me that the ghosts. Okay, so it's 100 years ago. These ghosts died on a ship, and they come back in 100 years. Okay, first of all, why'd they wait 100 years?
Because that's what's cool for the story, I'm guessing.
Second of all,
symmetrical.
Was it the ghosts that were doing everything in the town, making all that stuff happen? Why weren't they just going in and being destructive or killing the people they wanted to if they had that much power to do that? Or because there is a comment that Father Malone says that, well, it was written in the journal that, what did he say? He said something about the fog helped the townspeople kill those people. The fog came in, it was sent to help.
It was sent by God.
Yeah. And I was man, that's a really weird, interesting thing. Is all this stuff going on, not the ghosts? Is it like a different kind of power trying to like warn the people?
So what I think it is
I thought of that. That just came to me.
I think what it is the fog that first time was serendipitous. The first fog was serendipitous, and it just it helped them commit their murder that they were trying to commit.
Mm-hmm.
What I think happened then is the ghosts took control of the fog.
Mm-hmm.
So they're using what was basically their means of murder, or their means of their murder, their demise, as their tool for murder now.
Yeah.
So how is everything in the town exploding when there's no fog in the town?
Well, I don't know if it's only just that. I mean, it's kind of.
Let me make a comment really quick. So, like, there's a trope about like ghosts and like electrical devices and things like that, and it makes it like I was wondering whenever I was watching this movie, to gear up for this was, man, did that start because of this movie, or did they play on that? I'm not sure when it originated, but that was just it was a curious thing that they used electrical devices like malfunctioning and things like that with ghosts, because like now if like you watch horror movies and they're like messing with electrical items. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, like your cell phone dies or like
Yeah.
Well, I guess the reason that trope exists is because they say, I mean, what are ghosts but pure energy, right? I mean, that's kind of what ghosts are supposed to be, in a sense, or it's just pure energy.
Plasma.
So that's what they communicate with. That's what a talk box is. You remember talk boxes?
Oh yeah.
That's why it like gets really ghosty when it's like a lightning storm, because everything is like charged up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
I think that
that doesn't explain the glass.
The glass was, I think, Tom Atkins.
Oh.
I think Nick's.
He looked in it.
I think Nick's pure sexual charisma. I think Nick's pure sexual charisma in that small of a space just exploded the windows.
The whole town though, like the gas station. Like,
when the town. Well, that's because they heard about the first incident.
Yeah.
They're like, wait, Nick Castle is here?
He came into town and the whole town just started exploding. Oh,
Derek, I think you're muted, buddy.
I had to clear my throat, so I muted myself.
You just were like.
That's actually kind of a plot point that I feel like, and it's been a while since I've seen the remake, the 2005 version. But I think that might be a plot point that they kind of allude to in that, where, like in that one, instead of this random person who's not really part of the town, the hitchhiking girl is a part of the town, and like her return kind of like makes that whole.
Yeah.
Although, one thing that I was thinking of,
a big butthole of crap
that I was thinking of when I was watching this movie, like what if that character, being here is kind of like a spark, or some, I don't know. They never played on this, and I'm sure that was not supposed to be, but
so
it is ironic.
Yeah, I'm thinking, or from what I gather from the movie, is that this reason that it's 100 years, the centennial, it all coincides with that centennial. And I don't think it's only just a centennial, but it's a celebration of the centennial. So it's that they're holding this big festival to celebrate 100 years of this town that was founded upon murder and deception. And I guess the spirits just can't take that anymore. They don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have a bicentennial?
No. Well, they would at 200.
Oh, what am I thinking of? Bicentennial, let's do it. What am I thinking of? What's the 50-year mark?
50 years? I don't know.
No, there's a word for it. I'll have to look it up.
Okay, Robin Williams. We'll talk about your bicentennials later.
That's rude. Anyway.
Bicentennial fog should be the next.
Oh, yeah. Well, it'll be... we'd have to jump into the future because it has to be what 19
Yeah, it'll
right?
be like 70
2080,
years.
right?
Yeah.
2080. So maybe we'll do. How long would it be now? I mean,
It'd be 79 years.
what? So it's 100 already, and then 1980 to now is
Oh,
40.
1980 to now. I'm sorry. I thought you
So
were
it'd be
talking about,
141
like,
years.
how long before the next, like,
Oh, no.
2080 is what I thought you were talking about.
Oh,
I'm
no.
like, man, I think it's 79.
Yeah, no. I'm glad that we're really on top of our math skills, though. So that's good. If any of our math teachers are listening, they're at least proud of us.
Yeah. Well, except for my bicentennial comment, they're like, that guy, he fell asleep a lot in class.
But that's English, and they won't be proud of you regardless.
That's true. Good thing for spell check, but Jamie knows that's a true comment.
Oh man, Derek will send me something to proofread, and he'll be like, "Hey, so I wrote this mock-up for this. What do you think?" And I'm like, "I'm just gonna rewrite it because that's all crazy at this point." Hi, Radar.
Hey, Radar. Oh, that's cute.
Oh, you heard his name?
Radar.
Who said that?
Hi, buddy.
I did
Aw.
think that as I was watching this, I'm like, if they were to adapt this to like a TV series, they probably have to change the name. But her character in this, like just traveling around, like solving these mysteries, would be kind of interesting.
Well, what's interesting, it's kind of interesting you stated that because I just read in the 1990s, John Carpenter mentioned during an interview with Fangoria that he was interested in producing an anthology series based on The Fog. The proposed series would at first not have featured any of the characters from Antonio Bay, but The Fog itself would serve as a catalyst for other supernatural stories.
I mean, it is kind of a primal fury.
That would have been.
You can't see.
That would have been pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm
Or-
afraid of deer.
What would also be a cool idea for a spin-off to this would be an anthology series based off of just the town of Antonio Bay. Like, that would be the name of it, Antonio Bay. And then supernatural
Like a-
happenings happen.
Mecha Center, like
Yeah.
Sunnydale.
Yeah, or Twin Peaks.
There was a Buffy reference there.
Yeah, or what am I thinking of? The Stephen King
Oh, Castle
spin-off?
Rock.
Castle Rock. Oh,
Yeah.
man, that's good.
Yeah, Castle Rock is cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed Castle Rock. So that is The Fog. Lydia gave it 7. Derek gave it 7.25 for some reason. I gave it 8. We definitely recommend you guys watch this one. This is a great one for sure. Next week, we will be reviewing the remake of The Fog, and we'll see how we feel about said remake. I'm sure you can probably guess. But we're going to give it another watch and see if maybe I changed my mind. I mean, it didn't happen with Pet Sematary.
I will say I do think that the 2005 version of The Fog is a little bit better of a remake because it's I just think it's better in general than the remake of Pet Sematary.
Well, yeah, that's a rough one. That one was rough.
Yeah.
Didn't we give it two pumpkins, Lydia? You and I both gave it 2 pumpkins, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
You guys, they really find that movie in high regard. I found it on Amazon for $1.50.
What, the new Fog?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those that you'll find like chilling out at the dollar store. If you go to like the movies without cases, you know which ones I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, they're in just like the paper cases. They're like, oh, here's The Fog.
If anybody wants it,
We won't even stop you if you shoplift it. Just take it.
you can just have it.
We need to get rid of it.
Oh my gosh. Do you remember that time that we went into Family Video and we had rented Beyond the Wall of Sleep?
Yeah.
Remember that? And then we walked by it in the movie theater or in the the movie store, and we put a Post-it on there that says like "I suck, don't rent me" or something like that. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. It was basically a warning for people not to watch it lest they want to fall asleep. I mean,
Yeah.
it was literally we all rented this movie, and me and Derek and one of our friends, Carrie, we left to go pick up food. And when we came back to the house, everybody was asleep.
Yeah. One of our friends fell asleep on a DVD player because
It was a VCR. Actually, he had a VCR as a pillow. So it was that's an interesting film, that one. But that was The Fog. And next week will be The Fog. Do you guys have anything before we go? No.
Go watch John Carpenter live. He's got Jamie and I went a couple of years ago. He's got a musical show that he does, because he does a lot of the music for his films, and so he's got a good collection. It was a good time.
Yeah, you should pick up some of his soundtrack stuff. It's great. Derek and I did see him live in concert, and it was one of the coolest concerts I ever been to. And I was like 100 feet away from John Carpenter. Like, he was standing right on stage in front of me, and it was like one of the greatest moments of my life.
Man, how old was he at the time? He was like in his mid to late 70s.
He was in his 60s. He was in his 60s.
Rocking it out, man. Yeah, he was living his best life.
Yeah, he was rocking it. Fun. It was awesome. Yeah, that was a good time.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was. So maybe now that we're starting to get post-COVID, John can hit the road again. You guys can go see him because it's totally worth it.
There's an inappropriate story that I can't tell anybody, but Jamie knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, I think I do.
Yep. Anyway, we should just move on from that one.
Well, thanks for listening, folks. We'll be back next week with another episode. John Carpenter's, or the remake to John Carpenter's The Fog, the 2005 Tom Welling, Maggie Grace version of The Fog. Mm-hmm. So we will see you at that time. And for Lydia Judy and Derek Lemaster, I'm Jamie Hiles. And remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies.
That's right.
I really hope you guys would do it with me. Let's try it. Okay, see how it sounds, and then I can cut it, whichever one we like. So thanks for tuning in with us. Be sure to tune in next week. Until then, I'm Jamie Hiles for Lydia Judy and Derek Lemaster. If you're going to scream, remember to scream bloody movies. Wow, that was terrible.
That was terrible.
I thought we were going to say it faster than that.
Yeah, just scream bloody movies. That's how we're going to say it, okay?
Ready?
Scream bloody movies.
Scream bloody movies.
Yeah, just like that. So let me do the outro one more time so it all cuts together. All right, thanks for joining us, folks. Be sure to tune in next week for the 2005 Tom Welling, Maggie Grace remake of The Fog. Until then, for Lydia Judy and Derek Lemaster, I'm Jamie Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream bloody
movies.
One more time. Scream bloody movies, okay? So I'm going to say...
Right, wait, let's practice it.
Okay, let's practice it.
3, 2, 1.
Scream bloody movies. You're the one that counted and you were way off on... So,
me?
Here. Yeah, so say it just like scream bloody movies, okay? So, 1, 2, 3. Scream bloody movies.
Was it me again?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, ready? I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to say it. And we're going to say it just say scream bloody movies.
All right.
Right? 1, 2, 3. Scream bloody
movies.
You both. So 1, 2, 3, then we're going to say it. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Scream
bloody
movies.
There's like 20 minutes behind us.
I think we should leave all this in and just have you say it in the other one.
Yeah. Okay, so folks, we tried. We cannot synchronize us saying scream bloody movies at the same time. Lydia and I are sometimes too fast. Derek is always 25 minutes behind us.
I'll say this. My wife tells me all the time I cannot I don't have any rhythm to my musical rhythm. Apparently, that's probably what I'll blame this on.
That's a good place to blame it on. I
It
would
is.
say. We're gonna give it one more college try. Okay.
All right.
All right, I'm ready.
1, 2, 3. Scream, bloody. Eric is so behind.
I was going off of you. I was mimicking you.
He was late, right? He was-
Okay, I think what's happening is there's a
Is there a
second
lag?
lag on
Maybe.
him. For
Maybe.
him. So when you say it though, you're waiting for him, so you're going slow. When you should just be scream bloody
Okay,
movies.
you ready?
You know what? I'm just gonna cover my eyes.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Ready?
Yeah.
Cover your eyes. I can see you peeking.
I'm not
Ready?
peeking.
1, 2, 3. Scream, bloody movies.
movies. Did it work?
No. Your metronome is soup. So we're going, and you're going.
Whew.
Oh, thanks, folks. I'll see you next time.
Bye.